But I love the fact I'm 72 and I've learned a few things in this lifetime, thank God. And one of the greatest things that I love is knowing who I am and knowing where I come from and where my connections are, and that I have the the opportunity and the chance to live my life again as an Indigenous person. Because remember, we were by our own government told not to be who we are. So that took a little bit of work mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And so today I am very, very proud of who I am. I know where I come from. I know my history. And I always love to honor all the ancestors in North America. There was over 500 tribes, they say. And that's 500 different languages. Can you imagine all the wonderful things that they would have known? And that our history as Indigenous people begins in this country, nowhere else. And with that, I took every opportunity I could. I went to university as well, and began to really look into our truthful history here in Canada. And so I think that every Indigenous person in Canada today can say that I am a descendant of the original people of this country, and be very proud of that. There is no need ever to be ashamed of that anymore, not in 2021, and not if I have anything to do with it. Thank you for now.
Thank you. Thank you. For now, that was beautiful. A little bit about me too. I speak my language very proudly. I was born and raised in my community of Sandy Bay First Nation here in Manitoba. Went to school there, and I too was in residential school for the first from 68, 5 years, I guess, for about 5 years. And my grandparents, bless their hearts, they were very strong Ojibwe speakers. I learned my language. My grandfather was really adamant that we kept our language along with education. He was so, dead set that we got our education. When we finished on the reserve schooling, I came to Winnipeg to go to school. I wound up having a couple of different traits, but in the end, I settled in journalism, and I was one of the first in Manitoba Indigenous reporters on the private industry. So it was CKY back in the day when I first started 30 years ago. And then, gradually worked my way through there and became part of the APTN family about 17 years ago. And I love it. I love that we have our own network, our own platform, not only on TV, but through social media now, where we can share our stories, where we can connect with one another. And I think that's what the true passion of storytelling we can really add to is we're connected, not only across the country, but around the globe. And it's not just through, like I said, through TV anymore, it's through social media. So Geninge, I'm very proud. I speak Ojibwe. I have 12 beautiful grandchildren, 4 daughters, and I speak to them as much as I can, and I love listening to them speak back too. It is a blessing to be able to speak our language and to be proud of who we are and continue teaching our young ones that. And with that, I don't know, Belinda, if you want to do a short prayer and welcome opening for us before we get into our conversation about spring and new beginnings.
Okay, thank you very much. I will say it first in my language, and then I will say it in English so others can understand. Harbisemantu, Kinanaskumidnan and Nuskagi Sigak Mipatsuanana. Kinanaskumidnan Minagaginaugeg on Gaminia Gutaskit of Matisiak, West of Matisiak, West of Dutamak. Did you say what the Siak, the Vici Toak, the Sagi Toak? The Sawanimiak is Semantu, the Sawanimiak, the Ganawanimiak and Nuskagi Sigak. The Kiskenitamak, Nimantumananochi, the Gutauchi of Matisiak, Kinauchi is Semantu. The Kiskisiak, Dan Deutsche, Raguchi Bait Matisiak. Kerona Magagi Minigawia, they said Matisiak, they said Mamitunanitamak. The Kiskenitaman, Kinauchi is Semantu, YouTube Bebmatis, God, you know, we want to mini ask if you send to get an ask now. Creator, we give thanks today. We give thanks for our lives. We give thanks for everything that you give us here on earth. And that we live our lives today in a good way, a loving way, a sharing way, a giving way. And we ask for your blessings, Creator, today and always. And blessings to everyone that's watching today on Zoom. And we thank you, Creator, for all that you give us here on earth, and that we will respect and love what you have provided for us here on earth today. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Belinda. So we were going to, I guess, look at talking about spring and new beginnings. And I reflected on that a lot today, thinking about it and what it meant. Like, I know spring, we always go through the whole spring cleanup in the house. We do the windows and everything. But traditionally, you know, what did spring mean for our people? You know, when it was this time of year, it was the gatherings and, you know, coming out of the winter thaw and getting ready for the summer. But it was also, I think, a time for us to reconnect, you know, because I know my family, this is the time everybody would be excited because the muskrats were in season. And my mom loves muskrats. So going to spring, what are your thoughts on spring, and what is there teachings that we should be aware of or that you could share with us about it?
Well, just also, we have the 4 cycles that we follow. And have lived our lives with those 4 cycles in our lives, and that's how we lived. Because remember, we didn't have calendars back in the day, but we certainly knew what each part of the seasons meant, and that's why we understand and we know what that means. As children, when I remember the spring in our family, we will already have been on the trap line already, and talk about muskrats. I love muskrats. I haven't eaten one for a long time, but anyway, so and then coming back from that, and then coming home now to get ready for the spring and what needs to happen at home. And my one auntie Belinda, who had a beautiful home, gardening and flowers, and I just loved going around to her place. I was named after her. Anyway, so the spring, it's like the beginning of a new life, a new way of thinking and doing things again. Because every year we live the same 4 seasons, and every year our people knew what to do to get ready for whatever needed to happen for us to live and to eat, and to know what our roles were in preparing for what we had to prepare for. So in the spring is when the new life, it just amazes me, blows me away how wonderful it is that this earth just comes alive again in that time on its own, and we don't have to go and water all the land. The seeds know enough to come up again, and the rain comes and starts to water them and give them new life again. And this is like year after year after year. Like, when you think about the beauty of that, and the gratefulness that we have to feel as human beings, because now the earth is starting again to provide what we need for us to live. And so even planting, people have already planted little seedlings in their house already to get ready for the foods that are going to give us. And I really, I want to honor Carl McCoster, who is very involved with food sovereignty in Beggars. That we don't have the same, I would say, the same opportunities we had years ago, even in terms of what gets planted out there anymore. There's a lot of pesticides now on all our land. And so that goes into our body. And then we wonder why we get sick. So, you know, knowing that you can plant in a natural way, that is absolutely wonderful that we can do that as human beings, learning that we are stewards of the land. We were given that role here on this side of the earth, that we look after the land and that we do it and live it in a respectful way. Because we have to understand that in our way of life, before contact, before another race of people stepped here in our continent, that we had a way of life that was ours. It was given to us by Creator. Other countries were given their way of life and their language and their customs, just as we were given here. And as an Indigenous person that lives in this country, you have to know that history, no matter what your spiritual belief would be, no matter what religion you follow. You are Indigenous to this country. Your ancestors lived here and they knew how to live here. They knew respect. They knew how to take care of things. Things were never taken unless you needed them. You didn't take more than you needed because you can only take what you need. So in starting even just the little seedlings, and I'm pretty sure that if you said, I love you, to those little seedlings every day, they would probably go, oh, geez, thank you, thank you, thank you. Somebody loves me. But anyway, that's just my thing. But also understanding that the water, like the snow, we just had snow just a few minutes ago here, right? And those snowflakes are all different and they all have different designs on them. Like, how amazing is that? Like how it just blows me away. Just like the water in our body, we all have our body, the water in our body reacts to different things that it presents to you. So if I was to say today, and I'm speaking somewhere and I say, today I would like everybody that I'm speaking to today for their water crystals to look like diamonds today, because that's what I want to exude in my being and in being with you, listening to you, talking to you. So people would say, is she crazy or what? But anyway, and I've been known as a crazy lady, so I'm okay with that too. But anyway, just coming back to the water that is now going to give life to those new seedlings, to the plants that come alive every year, year after year. And so, and I really do believe that if you speak to them, the plants, the trees, anywhere, that they would love it because they have spirit too. See, that's the other thing. Everything on earth that came from our Creator has spirit, all the plants. So I kind of chuckle a little bit when I meet people who are vegetarian and they don't want to eat anything with eyes or an animal. Well, when you pluck out that the leaves, you know, from the ground, what do you think you're doing?
Exactly.
It's leaving it, it's leaving its place of growth and being. Anyway, but with that too, I also think that, you know, in the new beginnings and the new thinkings and knowing that we can start again another year. And one thing I remember as a kid, before I went to residential school, I know how the first wind of spring smells like. I remember that. Yeah, there's a different smell to it on the day that happens. And as a child, I remember that so well. And sometimes I've been able to catch it and sometimes I've not. It depends whether I'm outside at the time. So anyway, so it's, yeah, I think, and just the feeling of gratefulness in our bodies affects the water in our bodies as well. And again, the gratefulness in the body, even just saying the word, your water crystal is like a diamond. There's 6 sides to a water crystal, and water has spirit too. So we need to remember that about ourselves, you know. We all have spirit.
And that's, thank you. No, I was just going to say that's something that I remember too with my grandparents when they used to go out, be it planting, hunting, or collecting medicines. It was always important to put an offering out to say thanks before we went out and did anything. There was always a little bit of a ceremony in terms of saying what we were, we're going to go and collect medicines. Well, we're not just going to take from the earth and not be appreciative. And spring, I know there's certain things that we do in preparation. There's certain medicines we can pick in this time of year that we can't pick later in the year, just like in fall when we pick our sage and our sweetgrass. Everything has a time, and this time of year, like you were talking about the smell of the wind, it's funny, it's the same with me for the rain. There's a certain, and I haven't smelt it yet, probably because we're still getting snow in Manitoba. I don't know. But usually there's a certain smell and feel to the rain when it's at the cusp of that spring moving into summer, and it just has a very clean smell, very different smell, almost like the first cut of grass. It's so strong. Spring has the same kind of odor to it in the air. And I noticed the trees aren't budding yet here in Manitoba. I don't know, many other places, I think, I don't know if they got snow as much as we did, but I'm anxious, waiting for spring to break here in the way that I'm familiar with it. I guess that's through the smells of the air when it changes. I definitely understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain smell to each season. Yeah.
I wonder, spring is also a time, I think, that the trees, the maples, can be tapped.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
That's another preparation I think our ancestors had done. Was during the spring is when they began tapping the birch trees for maple and peeling of the birch trees for the canoes. Like there was a lot of customs from way back that I believe are still carried today. I know there's a gentleman in Labrador that makes birch canoes, and this is the time of year that he starts picking or peeling the trees for his canoes.
Yeah. I was just thinking of something, and then a note came at the bottom, and I'm reading it, and I thought left of my mind. So I'll have to think again about what I was going to say.
That's fine. Well, we have a little bit. So Connecting Communities, our webinar series that we're starting, this is our first one. So we plan and hope to have one every third Tuesday of each month. So for people, if they want to join the Community Connections mailing list for each month, then you can definitely go on to send an email to communityevents@aptn.ca with the word subscribe in the subject line. And, we're hoping that we can pick up and have more conversations and, talk about seasons, situations, things going on. This has been a really tough year from last spring to this spring. It was around spring when COVID broke out in March last year. It's been, and here we are a year later. Now we're dealing with the variants, and my heart goes to so many people across this country, around the world, that have suffered and lost family members to COVID. It's very disheartening and scary what we're living with now. And it really, I feel for our young ones who are missing, the interaction, missing the being with the grandparents. I don't get to see all my grandchildren. I don't get to spend time with all my family, out of fear because of what's going on. So where will we go? How do we cope, Belinda? How do we help our people all around cope and deal with our day-to-day situation? Like it's a tough time right now.
Yes, yes, it is, because we're having to. Of course, they tell us to stay in our homes as much as possible. So knowing even what to do with your time, like that's very difficult. I mean, if you like reading, then you can do that, which I do like to read. But in the meantime, what do you do? What do you think? What are you thinking when you know that you don't have the freedom anymore to just walk out the door and just go and visit anyone you want? And so the feeling of restriction is there, and that obviously at some point now many people are feeling angry about that because they don't have the freedom. And yet what would you like in place of that? I mean, yeah, I'd love to have the freedom of just going wherever I want, and but that's not the way it is. The circumstances are, this is the way it is. We need to be careful. How careful are you in preventing anything to get you sick? And hang on,
Oops,
sorry.
that's okay.
That was an income call.
Technology is great.
I know, just one little button and away they go. But anyway, so yeah, so what do you do? I mean, people that love ceremony, you can smudge and you can relax and you can whoops, sorry, you can do some meditation, you can read books, you can start a project, you can clean, you can organize, because you do have to find something to do, and unless you really enjoy just sitting all day. But you can have a really clean house if you want, Yeah.
It's true. I'm very well organized. So it's staying connected, I guess, is one of the biggest things. How do we stay connected to each other? And
Mhm.
we take for granted that it's so easy to just go and see family, whereas now, why not send a postcard, send a card to
Exactly.
each other, write a letter to each other, pick up the
Yeah.
phone and just have a
So
chat,
you know what I did was I belonged to a group of Truth for Reconciliation from Raymond Curry. So I facilitated one circle, and so the 10 of us today are still friends, and we do a lot of things together. We've grown to just to know each other, to love each other, and respect each other. And so during this whole year, nobody contacted anybody anywhere. Like, it was like, well, we're not shutting down the email. I can send messages. So I sent a message to all of them, and I said, "Hello, I just want to check in on everybody. How are you?" So what is that? It's almost like that you can't phone anyone. You can't do it. There seems to be a fear of that, right? And yet you're still in the safety of your home. So anyway, so I emailed all of them and we chatted. Oh, thank you for phoning or contact me. I'm so glad that we're connecting again, because we hadn't even talked to each other in email in almost a year. So it's, to me, it's staying connected, and I love to talk on the phone like long time. So it's easy for me to do that, but it's very hard for people. Some people just can't, or don't have the opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a question from Lori, I see, and she's asking if we can speak to the fear that people feel due to the restrictions. How would we answer that one, Belinda? Speaking to the fear that people feel due to the restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
How do we help with that? Like I understand the fear of living with the restrictions, but I've already gotten the vaccine. I was very nervous. I was very nervous about it because I've never ever had a vaccine. I never got the flu shot. I live very healthy, but COVID has really made me fearful, not only for myself of getting sick, but for me having my family members get sick, because my daughter lives near me and two of my grandchildren, and I take them back and forth to daycare and school. And I thought to myself, if I was to get sick, then my grandchildren contracted it from me. Well, my one granddaughter has very high allergies to peanuts. And I thought, and then my mother was also sick. So I made the decision that, I need to protect my family. And the best way to do that was to get the vaccine. I feel fine. I'm doing great. But the fear of the restrictions, the best advice I can give is take all the precautions you possibly can. Wear a mask, sanitize your hands frequently. Even shopping, having the wipes you can wipe down different items, your bags, and as soon as I get into the car, I'm sanitizing my hands. I wear a mask faithfully. It's a very hard one to answer, like how to live with those fear of restrictions.
It is,
Linda,
yeah.
Belinda?
And I think that the fear is real, of course, right? And so living in that fear, it doesn't give you the opportunity to see, because if you're fearful and that's all you can think of, then and I think to clear that, you can either smudge or ask in prayer to Creator, I want to live my life in a loving way today, here at this time. Take the fear from me, please. I will do what I need to do to stay safe, so that anybody else that I meet will be safe as well. So I also have gotten the vaccine, and my situation is such that I've had TB, so my lungs are compromised already. So I know that I have to do what I have to do for me, right? And then again, when you're fearful to do anything, it stops a lot of things. It stops feeling grateful just for your life. You're alive today. The people that you love who are with you are alive today. Be grateful. Do something with them. If you have children, you can do activities with them. You can even go outside in your own backyard. But it is a debilitating thing to be fearful. And so again, it comes down to me and you and whoever's watching and wherever you're living, is that you do what you have to do to be safe. And I think the word is safe, to be safe, and to know that you've done your part. Like you say, you wash your hands, you wipe, with the wipes that they give you, the alcohol wipes. And, it's just being aware and being prepared for yourself and for wherever you go, for sure, for wherever you go. If you touch a door even, going into a building, then you have to be aware that you need to wash your hands right away, or have the wipes in your car. And how do you accept fear? How do you just say, you know what, I am fearful. So I know that in order to not be fearful, I need to be careful with what I do. I need to be washing my hands. If I do go out, I will wash the handles. It's just something you have to do. Like, there would be no point in trying to fight the issue. Do you want to live? If you want to live and you want to be healthy and you want everybody else around you and wherever you go, then you do what you have to do. And I mean, if I could take the fear away in 1 second, I would. But that's not how it works.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's not true. And it's not like, and the funny thing is, it's not like we've never washed our hands in past or lived a clean life in past. It's just this variant and COVID is so contagious. So you've got to be very aware and extra careful.
Exactly.
Like, I have people, drop off items or bring things to my door. Afterwards, I have Lysol. I spray. I spray down my door. I spray down the carpet. I wipe down my mailbox. Because the mailman's coming, touching.
Yeah.
And they're very busy out there. And I guess living with that fear every day, in my mind, I'm thinking I'm doing the best I can to keep me safe and keep everybody else safe. As long as I think I'm doing my part, my fears are subsided. I'm not totally without any fear, but they're not absorbing me too much. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a very hard time right now.
Yeah, I do remember what I was going to say. I was going to say a shout out to Joe Cini and her partner Chris, because they're tapping for maple syrup. And they've been doing it already for about a month, yeah, out in Roseau. And they've been picking medicines. They've picked chaga. And if you're lucky enough that you could get fresh chaga, if you will, you can boil that. No, I shouldn't say you can't boil it. What you do is you bring the water to a boil and then just leave it. And then you put in the chaga and then you just let it sit. And that's another prevention, if you will, to help you, you know, to be safe in your health. Yeah.
So chaga is also harvested in the spring, or is that any time of the year?
Anytime. But I did hear a lady say that in order for it to have the power that it has in healing, that it needs to have been in -40 weather. And that's when it's, if you will, just to try to figure how to say it, is that when the medicines will be the most powerful, if it's -40.
Okay.
Yeah. And my brother go ahead.
I said, you mentioned somebody's actually tapping for maple right now, maple sugar.
Oh yeah, Josini and her partner Chris. Yeah, they're doing that in Roseau right now. Yeah. And they've been, because you have to boil it after you get it from the tree, eh? And actually, Josini has a lot of medicines as well that they pick all year round, whatever you can get in the seasons that come with it. Yeah.
Oh, I would love to go and tap maple. That would be a fun experience to go and try.
Yeah. We should go next spring. Yeah.
I think so. I think we should. I definitely would like to do that. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed this. This was nice. We had a great conversation. I look forward to next month. I'm hoping that everybody that joined today can join us again next month. Again, just in case this grade 6 students are still there, shout out hi from Vera in Winnipeg and Belinda, grade 6 class from Akwesasne Mohawk School, and Ms. Gabriel Stanton. Thanks so much for joining us. So as I mentioned earlier when we first started, Connecting Communities webinar series is hopefully going to be going on. They just messaged they are here.
Yes, they are.
Hi, everybody. We're so glad you could join us. Do you have any questions? Is there anything anybody would like to chat about? Because we do have some time for Q&A. If there's any questions, Belinda, I can definitely try and answer.
I was thinking, Vera, if you don't mind, I would like to just talk a little bit about rites of passages of our Indigenous children. So I think the first one that had the walking out ceremony was my sister Winona's daughter, and I'm thinking it was Savannah, but it could be Michaela. But anyway, and I know that, in learning my history and Googling whatever I could to learn about anything, anywhere, I came across, and I had seen this already in my Native Studies class in university. I went to university when I was 45 here in Winnipeg in 1993. Anyway, so we learned about the Crees of Mistassini. And in there, they showed us the ceremony of the walking out ceremony. So what that is the child does not touch Mother Earth, okay, until that ceremony. They can walk inside, they can walk on the sidewalk, but not on Mother Earth. So when they become that age, and also that the top of their head starts to close and it becomes solid, and that's usually around a year old. And so the ceremony is, it's for boys and girls. So the ceremony is for them to begin to be aware of what their role is to be in this world. Okay, now this is for the Indigenous community, and knowing and understanding that not every Indigenous person in Canada follows the traditional ways. And so, but I'm telling you what I've known and what I've learned. So, and this is our ceremony. Other cultures may have it, I'm not sure. But anyway, so what it is that each child, the boy and the girl, this is the time that they begin to learn what their role is going to be in this lifetime, in this world. Okay, so the elders come together, and I had the walking out ceremony for my little Soshi, my beautiful, beautiful granddaughter. She's 6 now. But she was in a sweat lodge at 3 months old getting her spirit name. And then we had the walking out ceremony for her when she was a year old. And she's been to full moon ceremony, and she carries the smudge, you know, for when we have ceremony at my home. And she's 6 years old now. But anyway, so in when we had our ceremony for her, I had elders in the teepee, and still in the teepee. We didn't have boughs from the tree to put on the ground, so she still couldn't step on it. So we had tarp. You have to, you know, do those things when you don't have. Anyway, so we're inside, and the elders were sitting up. So she got a teaching from each one of them. Okay, and she's only one. Okay. But remember, the subconscious mind will remember everything in your life from the day you are born to the time that you leave. So anyway, so she went to each elder, and she's walking, and each one of them gave her a teaching of what her life was to be. And in the Indian way, the woman is the fire keeper. So she, in her little pack sack, her little muscimut, she has a kindling, okay, because her role then is to keep the fires burning at home. And that's not to say that she shouldn't get an education and go to work too. Mm-hmm. But it means that the role as a mother is to be nurturing and keeping a place of warmth for your family. That's part of the role. The little guy, in the meantime, has a little rifle or bows and arrows. Okay, so his role is to be the provider. So he's already learning that at 1 year old. So he then is taught what his role is to be as a male, as a man, growing up. So the teachings start very early. And that's the one thing that we miss almost 100% today in our society. Our young men don't know what their role is to be. And I firmly believe, and I've said this across Canada a few times already, and somebody may take offense to it, and that's okay. But I say that the woman has to be the first teacher of her son. We are the first teachers as women. We are the ones that will teach and show our boys, our sons, how they need to live and to be kind. Are you there? Okay.
Oh yes, I see you.
Okay. I think I'm going to be going off in a few minutes here because my thing. But anyway, so their role is that the male has male elders that he listens to. So when they come out of that place, they come out of that teepee in either their bare feet or their moccasins. And then the little girl, she goes to the fire and throws the kindling into the fire. And so there's ceremony, there's drumming, there's prayers, and it's very powerful as for the child. You think they don't really realize that, but they do. They've heard everything you said. So with that, I'm just going to go off for a few seconds, because if I don't plug in my phone, I'm going to lose you right away. So just
well, we're going to, okay, while you do that, okay, not a problem. So while Belinda is getting her phone charged up, I just wanted to invite everybody to check out our Community Connections website. And we have a calendar there, and on the calendar, it's a free page where you can share events that are happening in your community or that you're involved in. You can go to aptncommunity.ca, and it's free. So if there's anything going on you want to share, please join up and send it out. There you are.
All right.
So if you want to know what's going on in various parts, you're all good now, Belinda? Okay.
I'm good, yeah.
Okay. So thank you very much for that teaching. That was very informative, and it's nice to hear, like there are some things that we forget or we don't know about that was, a part of our history, and probably still happens today in some of our communities and with some of our people.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So I think we're pretty much at the end of our webinar today. Any final thoughts and words, Belinda?
Mary Scott, oh, okay. I just saw Mary Scott listening there. Well, first of all, I do want to thank everybody that came on. I mean, I think this is really interesting. And imagine the things you're going to learn that the other ones that are coming up. And I think the sharing, I just love to do things for a community. People that know me know that very well. And I had a youth group in Churchill back in 1978. And we did a lot of things in the community at that time. I had the youth group. I worked with them every night and every day, and it was a wonderful experience. And one time I want to share this because I think it's very important. I was asked to go and do a PD workshop with some teachers in Seven Oaks. And so I only had 1 hour. Imagine me trying to tell you the whole history of what in 1 hour. Anyway, I can talk fast, but I wasn't that good. But anyway, so I'm trying to explain, because I wanted them to connect the dots, like the situation that's happening today, like where our children are, who don't know where they are, still in 2021. That is not right. But anyway, so I was trying to connect the dots for them to understand what our children are going through. Because remember, we've had a lot of disconnections already on who we are, identity. Our own government said we couldn't be who we are today. So all those things play a part in how people think of themselves. So anyway, so I'm doing my best to try and have some understanding for it. But anyway, so after that, a teacher puts up her hand and she said, and she sounded so pained. How do you teach Aboriginal children? Like, it was so hard. So I sat in my moment of silence in my head, and I said, you know what? I have worked with youth most of my life, and I know I have been a youth at one time. So I said, so the one thing that is imperative when you begin to be in the classroom with Indigenous children is that you have to love them. You have to love them. They have to know that you care. They have to know and feel it. Otherwise, what? I mean, if they're, as they say, acting up or whatever in classroom, then you take them aside and you say, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. Can I help you with something? So take the time to love the people that you're working with. That's what life is about. We come from pure essence of love through Creator. That's where our spirit is inside of us. And every living thing on earth has spirit. And then we're forgetting that we have to honor those spirits every single day. Every single day. We don't have choice to say, oh, no, not today. I don't want to be grateful for anything. We have to be every single day. Our breath is spirit. So I'd like to just leave everybody with a blessing, like the Sawenimo from our Creator. No matter which way you believe, we can live in the blessings of the pure essence of love. That's what I know.
Miigwech, that is very, very beautiful, and I couldn't put it in a better way. Thank you so much for sharing that, Belinda.
Thank you.
We're going to sign off here and say goodbye to everybody, and I really hope everybody will join us next month. And if all those that are viewing, tell your friends and family, come join us next month. Connecting Communities webinar scheduled for the third Tuesday of each month. If you want to join the Community Connections mailing list for announcements on future episodes of the series, send an email to communityevents@aptn.ca with subscribe in the subject line. And also please check out our APTN Community Connections website at aptncommunity.ca. Calendar is our page it's a great place to share and events that are happening around the country. So lastly, please tell your friends and family and community about our webinar series. And we really hope you'll all join us next time. In the meantime, stay safe, love one another, and look after each other. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.